Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Stay tuned to hear more about all that Skillshare has to offer. Hey guys, Rachel here. Thought I'd go on camera today because I am very excited to share something with you. I just got back from Blick, which is my local art supply store, and I went there because I desperately needed one of my Prismacolor colored pencils. Now, you can get these open stock. I have the big, full set, but I run out of certain colors very easily, and I've been out of mineral orange for at least 6 months, way before the pandemic. I always meant to kind of go back and snag one, but then all the stores closed, couldn't get it, didn't want to pay, $10 for shipping to order it online, $1 pencil. So I finally went, I got 2 mineral oranges just in case, but I was also talked into this little baby. This is a Cum. Is that how you pronounce this? Cum? Let's go with Cum. It's K-U-M. And it is an automatic long point pencil sharpener. And what I think is awesome about this is that apparently it's really good for like that pencil breakage. I don't know, I'm sure that bugs the crap out of you guys as much as it does me. When your pencil tip breaks when you're coloring, and no matter how many times you sharpen it, it just keeps breaking. So apparently this sharpener is really good for that. It has 2 holes, so it'll actually sharpen the wood and your lead in the middle. So we're gonna give this a try today on a page, and I'm very excited to see if it's something that works, and if so, might be something you guys wanna give a try. So let's get started. So here are my goodies from Blick. I did get 2 open stock Prismacolor pencils in mineral orange. I've been out of this color for a while now. It's one of my favorites, and definitely gonna need this one coming up for some autumnal coloring, so I got 2 of them. And like I said, while I was there, I also got talked into this pencil sharpener. This is the Cum Automatic Long Point Pencil Sharpener, and I did find this on Amazon. It was about $7, so I will link it down below if you're interested. Now, one hole is for sharpening the color core, and the other is for sharpening away the wood shaft around the color. First thing I noticed is that the box opens very, very nicely. You could definitely keep your sharpener in here if you wanted to. Now, it does have a hinge door here to kind of hold in all of the shavings, which is super nice to have. Just kind of keeps your desk a little bit cleaner. It is a little cumbersome to open it up this way, but not a huge deal, certainly not a deal killer. So, all right, let's try this out on a fresh, straight out of the factory pencil. And it says to first use it to sharpen away the wood. So that's this bottom hole here. Pencil turns very nicely inside of it. Whoa, look at that. It left me this weird little nub at the tip here. That's interesting. All right, here it is compared to the factory tip again, just so you can kind of see the difference. And you can see it did take away quite a bit of that wood. Now, let's put it into the other hole just to see how it kind of finishes this off. And this one is supposed to sharpen the color core itself. Oh yeah, the shavings are much more fine here than the curly piece that kind of came off before. It was super solid and, definitely just that kind of wood column that kind of goes around the color. All right, finished product, nice and pointy. It's very clearly and aptly named as a long point sharpener. And what I like too is that this feels really nice and solid, very sturdy, because the worst thing ever is when your tip breaks off either after or during sharpening. The pencil is never quite the same again after that. Now, just for fun, let's kind of see how this stacks up to the Prismacolor pencil sharpener, which is the one that I've been using for a few years now. Oh my God, see? I jinxed it. My tip broke. Now, if that doesn't put a win in the Cum pencil sharpener column, I don't know what does. Let's just put this one back over here. Let's forget about this one. And let's fix the tip, see if it kind of fixes itself in the new sharpener. And it does. That is so, so nice. All right, like I said, I'd like to put this sharpener to the test on an actual coloring page because it's difficult to give a real assessment until you're putting it through its paces. So I'm going to be testing it out and just kind of letting you know what I think as we go. and we'll try it out on a page from Romantic Country's Third Tale. Now, the weather has turned a bit towards autumn in Chicago recently, so I'm in the mood to color some pumpkins and use some autumnal color schemes. Now, before we jump in, I tried to sharpen this pencil on just the color course side without doing the wood first. It wasn't that dull, so I just kind of thought that I would try it out. And it left this weird ridge here at the base. So I do think there's a method to the madness where you have to do kind of the wood shaving first and then the color core after that. It doesn't work one or the other. And to put our sharpener to the test, I think I'm going to color some of these pumpkins on our page 2 different ways, just to get the most pencils out of our test here. Let's try our pencil sharpener on a Crayola pencil. So we've already used it on the Prismacolor, it's a more expensive, kind of quality pencil. Let's see how it does on just a regular student grade Crayola. And surprisingly, not surprisingly, I'm not sure which, it works just the same. It works fantastic. It kind of came out very similarly to the Prismacolor. Nice long point here, very, very sharp, and I'm very happy with the way that this came out. So for these first ones, now at a recent trip to my grocery store, I saw the coolest green pumpkins there. I have no clue what kind they were, and in hindsight, I should have looked. But they almost reminded me of cucumbers, kind of, in their coloring. Both the inside, kind of light, super like fleshy cucumber color, all the way to dark greens on the outside, and maybe even a little bit of like a warm brown in it as well. It looked super, super earthy, super fun. So I thought we could try to replicate that look on these pumpkins here. Sharpener update, it's still doing really, really well. Haven't had any issues yet. Back to these pumpkins, I think it's really fun to add a lot of variety in your pumpkin colors when you're doing these fall or Halloween pages, especially when there's a lot of pumpkins like this on a page. You can absolutely color them all the same, but if you mix it up a little bit, it brings a lot of life and a lot of visual interest to your page. So if you need some inspiration, I would definitely turn to Google. You can Google pumpkin photos or pumpkin types, and I'm sure there will be lots and lots of inspiration photos that'll come up to help you along. These pumpkins are really reminding me of all the fall festivals and pumpkin patches that usually fill up our weekends during the fall months. In fact, I was talking just the other day about how September is typically the perfect month to go apple picking, but I'm not really sure that any places around here are open right now, so I'm going to have to do some homework to see if we can still make that happen. And if I'm being honest with myself, it's really just an excuse to find fresh apple cider donuts, but, the apples are good too. I don't think I use this chestnut color enough. There are definitely some neglected, kind of overlooked gems amongst my colored pencils. So it's nice to stumble upon them and kind of bring them out of hibernation once in a while. And chestnut is perfect for the fall. Ooh, look at the super sharp tip on this baby. I am really liking this pencil sharpener. I do think that it is maybe eroding away the pencil a little bit faster than some of the other pencil sharpeners, just because of the nature of it kind of peeling away the wood and then it peeling away, at the tip. I think it's probably going to make my colored pencil not last as long, but, if this is a hobby that you love and, you're going to go through colored pencils, pretty quickly. So it might be worth it. Even if it's just kind of keeping the breakage from happening, I'm really liking this colored pencil sharpener. All right, to finish out this pumpkin, I am going to blend with my Prismacolor colorless blender. Now, I don't typically bring this out, but I really like the way that it blends the colors on something so multicolored. We used a lot of colors here, and I really like the way that the colorless blender sort of brings all of it together, just sort of smooths out all those textures, all of those colors. Doesn't homogenize everything. It doesn't make it all look one color, but it really just sort of tends to help uniform everything, like bring everything together. which is another way of saying blending. And I just really like the way that it looks on the pumpkins. So I am going to use a combination of kind of circular strokes, like curlicue strokes, but also some linear strokes because I like the texture that it adds to the pumpkin. I think it just kind of lends itself to some of the natural texture that the pumpkin surface has. And I really like the way that these green pumpkins came out. All right, on to our second set of pumpkins, and I'm going to go just very traditional, very orange pumpkin with this look, and I'm going to start with ginger root. It's the same color that I started with initially on our green pumpkins. I just find it's a great sort of base layer, just sort of locks in some of those places where I want to put in a highlight, gives a nice warm kind of undertone to some of our pumpkin oranges, and ginger root is definitely one of my favorite kind of go-to colors for that. And speaking of undertones, another that I'll be using on these orange pumpkins is blue. And you may not think of using blue on an orange pumpkin, but when you use it lightly underneath a color like orange, which blue and orange are opposites on the color wheel, it creates a wonderful complementary hint of color beneath the surface. So where I didn't use ginger root to highlight, I'm going to be using a light layer of this blue. Then we'll add our oranges right over top, leaving plenty of room for some of that ginger root to kind of show through and just leaving space for some of those highlights. Pumpkins are nice and shiny and the light bounces off of them very well. So leaving those areas nice and bright will just create a little bit of that illusion of the light bouncing right off of the surface. And I am not a fan of like pristine looking pumpkins. I like mine to look a little bit earthy, a little bit like they've still kind of been laying in the mud and the earth. So I like to add a little bit of green, a little bit of browns, just to give it a very earthy kind of realistic tone and a little bit of texture too. And I'll use the colorless blender to bring it all together on our orange pumpkins as well. It's really kind of marrying that blue and the orange and the greens that we added really, really nicely together. And by the way, on the colorless blender, the sharpener is doing absolutely fantastic. This is another one that, since you have to press so hard, you tend to lose your point very, very quickly. And so in between, I was just kind of sharpening and, just kind of readjusting as I needed, and it kept my tip nice and sharp. So overall, I think this comb sharpener is a winner. It is a two-step process every single time, and I do think that it'll likely kind of peel away at more of your pencil faster, but to me, for a sharp tip, that might be an okay price to pay. Now, I will continue to use this sharpener, and I'll report back on whether or not I find any more pros or cons to it, and of course you can find a link to it down in the description below. This video is not sponsored, but it is down there for you if you're interested. And speaking of, thanks again to the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with thousands of classes in design, art, business, and so much more. If you want to improve your knowledge on any topic, Skillshare has a class for you. Like this class, Watercolor Illustration with Helene Baum, depicting whimsical subjects, expressive watercolor techniques, and diversity in her subjects. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to classes, communities, and workshops that are just right for you and your learning goals. So join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for Pencil Stash viewers. For a limited time, you can use the link in my description to get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. And after your free trial, Skillshare is just $10 a month. When you think about what a great investment that is in yourself and your growth, that is a steal. So whether you want to fuel your curiosity, creativity, or even learn a new skill to further your career, Skillshare is the perfect place to keep you learning and thriving. Act now for this special offer and start learning with Skillshare today.